Hello folks, hope you're doing well. This is a new video I did earlier. It's Walk with No Talk at Fair Village Woods. Yeah. Okay, so this one is going to be about Genesis 2, the third verse and going onwards from 23 and 24, but only the third verse from it. It says, "She shall be called woman." And that's the most important about that. Adam talking about Eve. She should be called woman because she was taken out of man. She was taken out of man, that is irrelevant. But she should be called woman is relevant. So that's the first point. So I'm going to talk about that one. So when it says she should be called woman, obviously in society we have this big push by the extreme left. Trying to say that gender is irrelevant, and from a biological point of view, a man can still be a woman. Yeah, because if he thinks he's a woman, then he therefore is a woman. Yeah. And all because in nowadays it's wrong for anyone to feel offended. So we change gender, basically. We change the rules of gender and all this sort of stuff because we don't want people to be offended. And we don't want people to understand that, well, maybe they're not right. Maybe they have a mental illness, but instead of actually focusing on whether that might be the case, let's bow down to all of their most bizarre thoughts and say that, well, no, there's no problem there. That's real, isn't it? Even though everything in nature says no, that's not real. Yeah. Well, history is going to point back and say it was the extreme left who was to blame for this. It isn't. It really isn't. Well, it's the same as in Nazi Germany. Was it the Nazis who were to blame purely, for what they did? Or was it the fact that you had a German population who sat by and watched and even encouraged that to a certain degree? And the ones who didn't actively encourage it just sat by and watched. Didn't stand up when they had a chance to. We have the same now in society. We have a massive amount of people in the centre that aren't left or right, but in the centre. And they won't stand up because, if they stand up and say anything about it, they get attacked. And they don't want to be attacked. But instead of actually being attacked, I'd rather society goes down an incredibly dangerous path. There was a court case in, I think it's Canada, where the father actually ended up, I think he had to spend some time in prison because of it. And he had a massive fine to pay. I think his child, a boy around about 12 or 13, had decided, well, mother and father were separated, had told the mother that he thinks he's supposed to be a girl. And the mother said, okay, let's take you to the hospital, to that department where they can have a chat with you and work out whether this is a real thing or not. The hospital then says, they'll do a proper exam. This could take weeks before they will actually do anything. And that's what the husband was told. That's what the father was told of the kid. But then the very same day, the father was then told that the hospital are starting his boy on hormone treatment. Basically to stop the male hormones and do all of that. And he legally put a stop to that on a short-term term. But then, of course, the hospital eventually said that they will sort of charge him for that, basically. And because he wouldn't call his daughter or his son, his daughter, a she rather than a he, he faced some serious penalties for that. Yeah. So in society, there's a bit of a war going on at the moment, and the majority of people who could stand up and say something aren't. And so, it is not good. Well, that's why, the church should have been saying something about it, but again, they won't, because they're part of the centre, aren't they? So there you go. The second part of that is talking about the Genesis 2 is, let's go there so I can see it, verse 24, 2:24. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. I've spoken about this many times. As I said, in church it seems as if this is not only understood but is being encouraged as to not be the case. I mentioned before the pastor that I had, by all accounts, certainly according to their Facebook accounts, he has his original surname, his wife still has her original surname, so she didn't take his name. And this seems to be quite common. As I say, it's a leftist idea. It comes from the left. That woman is strong, powerful, has her own identity, and she shouldn't have to give up that identity when she marries a man. Oh, shut up. She can keep her identity as long as she wants, but she can stay single, that's fine. And she can stay single and keep her identity. That's fine if she wants to do that. Becoming one flesh is so incredibly important, especially if you want your relationship to work. But I say, has the church spoken about becoming one flesh and what that actually means? No. No, I don't think so. Not in general. I don't think that's something that the church has counted as important in helping people to understand it. But as I've said before, if you are a Christian couple, and let's say to start with you have different surnames and she doesn't take his name, then you're not together on that. That's one thing you're not together on. If you have different interests, then okay, you're not together on that. If you have different desires, you're not together on that. If your passions are slightly different, you're not really together on that. So chances that your marriage is going to work is basically zero. If things continue like that, then you're not putting together really on anything that matters. And the devil can come in and boom, pull you apart further and further and further and further and further until there's nothing remaining of the reason why you got together in the first place. But, does the church believe in the devil? No, I don't think they do. I don't think the church basically believes in the devil. I don't think so. Well, because you think about it in this sense, if the church actually believed in the devil, they'd be doing things very, very differently, wouldn't they? They'd certainly be a lot more serious about what they're doing and how they're doing things. Oh, that's an absolute certainty. If they were walking downtown, like the short video I showed the crowd of people, if they're walking through those people, they would understand that most of those people right now, if they died, they would go to hell. According to Christianity, if they died, they would go to hell because they haven't come to a relationship with God, they haven't given their life to God, so therefore they've not received the forgiveness of their sins. If they haven't received that, they're going to go to hell. But do they really care about these people? Well, you only have to look at what church is and how church functions to know the answer is no. Well, the reason why they don't care about that is because they don't believe in the devil. Well, if they don't believe in the devil, do they believe in God? Well, yeah. Because if you believe in God, you would believe in the devil, because the Bible says the devil exists. Right? Yeah, come on. Am I saying anything that's out of order here? At all? People like to sort of pretend that what I'm saying is out of order. It's not. It's important to ask the questions. It's important to look at the evidence and to look at the fact of there's no fruit. There hasn't been fruit for a long time. And with that being the case, you have to say, what does that suggest? You're going to any church, any blinking church, and you'll walk out, and if you are a spirit-filled, born-again Christian, you'll walk out of that church feeling deflated. Yeah, it basically takes from you. It gives nothing. Yeah, the worship's going to be head. The ministry is going to be practiced and all that. And yeah. Well, as I say, I mean, the pastor that I had on one of the final meetings I was at, he was speaking something and he started choking up, and there was a tear. And when I saw that, I almost laughed, because I knew that he had practiced that. Because of the way he preaches, because of the way he was trained, I knew that for a week he was practicing that. Practicing when to do that, you know, what to think of to make himself choke a bit and for a little tear to come. Oh. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry when I saw it, because it's like, come on. Yeah? I mean, that to me, that was horrendous to me. Because if you're in church and you can't trust whether this person is truly, you know, a bit choked up about what he's saying, or whether it's acting, badly acting, mind, but acting, all the same. Yeah. That's what actors are taught, aren't they? When they're supposed to cry, they're supposed to think of something, you know, an event or sort of thing that makes them cry. And when they're speaking, or when they're given that line, think of it in that way, and then, you know, they get a bit choked up and a tear comes and boom, got it. Cut. Good take. Yeah. So of course you're going to have ministers doing that. That's why I say, you know, if you're a spirit-filled, born-again Christian, or born-again, spirit-filled, spirit-led, you go to one of these sort of churches and you come out and you just say, Father, come on, what's the point? Yeah, what's the point of these places, really? Yeah? People are supposed to go to church, but especially when this is a Pentecostal church. This is a Pentecostal church. Yeah, before going to this church, I'd never been to a Pentecostal church, but I'd read the stuff of Smith Wigglesworth. So I was excited going to a Pentecostal church, thinking, ooh. But I'll tell you what, when I went to the church, I never knew it was Pentecostal. Only when I went onto their Facebook page, it then said Pentecostal. Excuse me? That's not Pentecostal. That's like every evangelical or Baptist church I've ever been to. Yeah, there's no spiritual anything in there. The gifts aren't there. What's the whole point of Pentecostal church? You're supposed to have the Holy Spirit. You're supposed to have the gifts of the Spirit. Was any of that there? No. No. Pentecostal by name but not by nature. Yeah. Church of God by name but not by nature. That's why, when I left that church, I was driving past that church and praying for that church in different ways. Eventually praying that God would give that church over to the devil completely and basically tell the devil to have fun. Because they need to realise that the devil does exist. They need to get on their knees and pray. And if anything normal was not going to get them there, then maybe something extreme will get them there a bit quicker. Because really, time is a wasting. It is. Yeah. There are people in that church that on the path they're on right now, if they don't believe in God, if they don't believe in the devil, then they're not repenting really anymore, are they? And so therefore, have they come out of that where their sins are covered situation? Quite likely, yes. And so if they died where they are, they would go to hell. Now, to me, that's bloody serious. We need something extreme to happen to fix that problem now. Same as we do with every church. We need something really extreme to happen. And then when nothing happened, I was like, okay, Father, you've given up as well. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's why I think God has given up, because there were many things he could have done to get his church right, and he's done none of it. I don't think it was ever in his desire to do that. I think it was in his desire for things to happen the way they have, so that we would now understand that there needs to be a change, and that what God's doing is a change that it needs to be. So we walk into that and we rely completely upon Father. Father will be our pastor, will be our teacher. Because man being our pastor and teacher, well, that didn't work, did it? Well, as I say, for the babies, they need to go to a church system to get that beginner understanding. But once you become mature, you come out of that, because that doesn't function. That's good for the babies, but it's not good for anyone else. So you come under Father. And that's cool. If that's the case, fantastic. Well, who better to be our pastor and our teacher, really? Yeah. So there you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Hopefully there's something in this that could help. Have a wonderful week. Bye bye.